So I've been thinking a little bit lately about, and probably we all have, about AI, about technology, and the relationship that we have as human beings and as artists with these new types of technologies. And I just thought I'd just share with you some of my insights for what they're worth. But I think there is a real concern that at some point sooner or later, that all of the things that we might be doing might be completely replaceable. And I think replaceable is maybe the word I'd use rather than replaced. But there is a sense that these things could be replaced, uh, or should be replaced. And I want to maybe just share with you some of my thoughts about this because uh, it is an existential thing as an artist, I think. And so, what is the purpose of doing what we're doing? And it feels so meaningful for all of us. So I'll just talk with you through some of this. One of the things I want to sort of from the get go just maybe establish that uh, in, say, for example, Roman and Greek kind of society, there was a differentiation between work and labor. And labor is something that is, you have to do it. Uh, and sometimes you get forced to do it. So slaves did labor or servants did labor. And work was something that was a meaningful thing that was done for the family, for the community, um, and maybe enriched the life of society. And I probably believe that AI and technology is a great. It's productive to use it as the laborer or as the sort of the jobs that we don't want to do, but the jobs that we really want to do and do really well and that are meaningful. I think these are things that human beings should be doing because they give us meaning and they are important to do and they feel different. A case in point is that uh, the washing machine is often seen as one of the greatest contributors towards reducing women's unpaid labor by just not having to spend a whole day doing the washing every week. So technology is great, don't get me wrong. But I'll just talk to you a little bit about one of the problems about technology is that it occupies its own universe, I'm going to say. And it's a human created universe, and it's an understandable universe, and it's predictable, because otherwise it wouldn't work, right? What we have to be very careful about is assuming that that is representative of the rest of everything else. And for me, the work that I think that human beings should be doing is going out and discovering the rest of it and the stuff that we don't want to spend any time doing, we sure automated that. So I'll just talk about music because often I see articles about music becoming more simpler or more uh, you know stupid basically. And so, and I just want to maybe push back on some of that because I think there's two different things which is happening. One is that music is increasingly being made by machines rather than instruments and people, and that there's all these really cool tools for recording, things like auto tune, beat correction, all this sort of stuff that allows people who are um, maybe not super strong to have a chance to be able to contribute something musical or pleasant sounding. However, and this is where I would maybe suggest that the line is that might be okay, but the musical universe is much bigger than being in tune with the Western framework of quarter tones, 12 notes per key or anything like that, because the musical reality is that most music historically doesn't conform to any of that and never has. It's only a relatively recent thing. So, uh, you know, metronomes have only been around for X amount of time. I don't know when the first one was, but I'm guessing it's in the last couple of hundred years. Auto tunes only, the last 30 or 40, and yeah, and then there's recording devices in general in terms of being able to sample things and being able to play back the exact hit that you want over and over and over and over again, all this kind of thing. Those technologies are really interesting, but it's not the whole universe. and it's not necessarily, the outcomes don't sound that human always either. And for me, music that doesn't sound human might sound maybe closer to the sound of the washing machine going and that's interesting. And maybe you've seen some online videos of someone playing along to a washing machine, or but a washing machine is not a great drummer, even if it is in time. So maybe depending on the drummer that you have, though. So I just talk a little bit about one of the things is that the harmonic series, for example, I'm just going to start with there, is that the harmonic series is a division of strings. Basically, Pythagoras figured out, or someone before him. I'll put a little pick on here so we can get all the sounds here. You can see it keeps on going, and it actually goes out of human hearing pretty quickly. Oops. And so what we can maybe infer from that is that pitch and harmony is much bigger than 12 notes, because this is an infinite spiral, not a circle of repeating notes, but it's an infinite spiral. And there's actually two different things. Is that the odd numbers in the harmonic series will be generating new notes, and the even numbers will often be just an octave up from the previous note. And they're sometimes a little bit different as well. So they're approximately octaves up, and they will be in tune. So there's repetition of certain notes over others, but then there's this constant, the odd numbers are constantly generating new notes the further that you go up. So there's a lot of variety and a lot of sameness, okay? And so there are octave notes at the other end of infinity, because they would just be a multiple of 1. Yeah. Or 2, right? If they're just twice the amount of the previous octave. However, we can't hear all those, and that's okay. But if we could, it would be very confusing, I think. We wouldn't be able to appreciate harmony in the same kind of way. And so what we're hearing at the moment is a very human version of harmony. And the mechanical systems that we have now are an approximation of the lower kinds of basic harmonies, and we're working with that. And so we get a kind of a certain part of functional sounds that can work, and we can change key and all that sort of stuff on a piano, and it doesn't sound really super weird. However, not every musical culture does this, and I'll just talk a little bit about some sounds that I've discovered is that whether it's the blues or various different Indian Arabic scales, is that they're often using what we call quarter tones or micro tonality, and also there are rhythms and micro rhythms, and these things that are kind of don't quite neatly fit within a grid mathematical structure. And so the feel of music and the soul of music, well, we say these feel and soul, often I'm looking to, when you're watching musicians play and then someone looks like something smells horrible, then something is going on usually. And I think often it's one of these kinds of things where it's, something is happening in the rhythm. There is a kind of an alignment of micro rhythms, or there is an alignment of feeling tension of quarter tones really resolving. And so there are these little bits and pieces, like, and we've heard them all the time. Not. And so there's, just a little bend in there is better than. Is so that being able to bend, do little micro bends is really lovely. There's a particular note that happens in I hear it in a lot of metal bands where they do this thing where they go and they just slightly bend the semitonal. That note there, this is a note which is actually in a lot of Arabic scales, which is really funny. But it's also in the harmonic series, I think. So I think that's what people are. It's not. It feels quite dull, but this. So being able to bend, or being able to bend to the particular notes, it's not just random, but there are certain types of quarter note sounds and shapes and rhythms. And the rhythms are often based around certain types of percussion sounds or phrasing. Have a listen to cumbia, listen to that. That can get very loose and tight at the same time. It's in time, but it's very hard to quantify it as what's actually going on. Brazilian swing it's a 16th note rhythm, but it's got something very crazy going on there in terms of there is a certain kind of lilt to it that without it, it just sounds mechanical. So if you play it just as a straight 16th, doesn't sound appropriate. So, and I mean, I have some theories about why that sound might have come about, and I think it might have something to do with doing shakers, but you know, I wasn't there, so. So I would suggest that if you're wanting to learn how to do micro rhythms, learn how to play different percussion instruments, and then embed the phrasing of these different types of percussion sounds, whether it's the cascadas or shakers or berimbau even, and these textures can transfer over to whatever instrument that you're playing, and so a lot of the percussion sounds inform my work as a guitarist. And so same with quarter tones, listening to other types of music that does use quarter tones, and then try to incorporate it into your tonal palette, right? And so auto-tune would kill all of these things, or beat correction would kill them. They would straighten it up, and then you'd lose all of this stuff that sounds, to me, sounds like it's come from somewhere, like it's people. So in summary, I don't feel too scared about AI replacing any of that stuff because I think it's a little bit trickier about, being able to think in different rhythmic and tonal sound systems and have a variety of diversity in getting to those places, because the reality is at that level it will not be perfect, and every individual will have their own particular tendency to hit this part of the quarter tone or this part of the or the microtonality thing. And it's to do with the instrument that they're playing, it's to do with their fingers, it's to do with their ears, what can they hear. And so all of this is the human, the variety, the infinite variety of human expression, which I don't feel like is something that AI threatens. So stick to your life's work, investigate, find out what makes you human. What's the most human parts about your music that you can make? Can you embrace the vulnerability of hearing what it sounds like when your voice isn't entirely locked into, doesn't sound like a keyboard? And that's one of the things I found often with about modern pop music, is that a lot of the vocal parts sound a little bit like vocoders. In which case, why bother having someone sing? Why not just have someone doing a vocoder part with the keyboard? Yeah, so embrace the vulnerability of being human. Embrace the imperfection of being human. And then also embrace the infinite possibilities of being human. So, catch you later.